Michael with United Veterans Worldwide for another session with Leisa, who is a dietitian. And I think I messed up last time and I called you a nutritionist.
That's right.
And so I looked up the definitions. A nutritionist is someone who has some knowledge about nutrition, a little bit of experience. But a dietitian is
Someone who is credentialed and licensed and has gone through a lot of training to talk
right.
about this.
We're not just pulling someone out of the woods who has limited information. We're talking about someone who is credentialed and has enough background to support what her statements are that are factual. And I have a little bit of an update as we begin today. Leisa and I met 3 weeks ago almost.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And we had a discussion. Some of you have seen that video and seen the little outtake about our brains having fat, our brains being fat, and I thought that was funny. So today we're outside at a park. I wanted to be outside in the sun because it's such a beautiful day, but it is so bright that both of our eyes would look almost closed in the video. So we're going to be wearing shades today in order to be out here. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a report on how I've done since we last met and you gave us some information. And so I cut out all processed food.
Okay.
Completely. I started making my own meals. So last Sunday I did some meal prep with fish and with vegetables.
Love it.
And then the afternoon I did a salad with my kids with, what is the oil? Olive oil and vinegar. And
Awesome.
It wasn't like great tasting, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And so I knew I was still putting the nutrients into my body.
Yes.
And then I had a handful of nuts on the side that I consumed with the salad.
Love it.
And it ended up just being a perfect meal. So when I met with you last, I weighed about 225.
Okay.
This morning I weighed myself and I'm down to 211.
Wow.
So I've implemented a little bit of cardio in the afternoons, but not much. So
Yeah.
it really comes down to the
Diet.
way that we're eating
Mm-hmm.
makes the impact.
It does.
And today I hope that we can learn a little bit more from Leisa as we spend 15 minutes or so talking through the next step of education for all of us in terms of proteins, carbs, fats. So
Yeah.
Leisa, I'll just leave it to you to start to talk, and maybe I'll ask a couple questions as we go.
Okay. Well, I just thought this would be good to talk about because this is the basics of what we eat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's everything that we eat kind of falls into these three categories: carbs, fats, and proteins. And we need all three of them.
Yeah.
You know, there's not one that you can get rid of or leave out and still have a balanced diet.
And I think we talked about that last time. There are plenty of diets out there that want us to remove one of those elements from the program. And if we do that, we will become nutrient deficient in
Yeah.
that area, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And I think there's so many diets right now that are high in protein or high in fat. And I think that carbohydrates kind of get a bad name, but they're actually so healthy and so necessary as long as we're eating them in the right amounts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought we could just break down kind of what they are.
Yeah, let's do it.
So overall, these are called macromolecules. Okay. So they make up the foods that we eat. Carbohydrates are our main source of energy for our body. Okay. So that's why we need carbohydrates.
Write that down if you're taking notes today. Carbs are the main source of energy. Energy does not come from protein. So if you consume a lot of protein and you think it's just going to give you big muscles, it's not going to give you the energy you need to get the workouts done. So
Right. It's a lot harder for your body to turn protein into energy than to just use those carbohydrates.
yeah.
Because as soon as we start eating carbohydrates, they break down the minute they start in our mouths. And then they are just digested so easy, they turn into glucose, and then that's what our cells use to function. And our brains love glucose too.
Oh, good.
So sometimes if you don't have carbs, you might feel a little foggy, and that's why.
Yeah.
Because your brain's not functioning.
Yeah.
Carbohydrates are found in things like grains
Okay.
and fruits. And they're also found in things like beans. There's some carbohydrates there. And then obviously like our sweet things, right?
Yes.
Like our candies and our cakes.
Yes.
There's two different kinds of carbohydrates though.
You said grains.
Yeah.
So when we talk grains, we're talking about what? We're saying
So we're saying like wheat, rice, barley, millet, corn would be a grain.
quinoa.
Quinoa would be a grain.
I have not yet adopted myself to
I'm
quinoa.
going to send you a recipe.
So
So the grains are good for us.
Yeah.
They really are. But obviously not all carbs are created equal.
right.
So there's those complex carbs
Mm-hmm.
that are going to have things like fiber.
Mm-hmm.
They're harder for our bodies to break down, but they're going to be a better energy source for us.
Ooh, I like that.
And then there's the simple carbs that are going to be the things like sugar. Okay. And honey would fall into a simple carb category. And they're,
When we say simple carb, we're talking about something that our body burns very quickly.
yeah, and it just doesn't have to break it down. It doesn't take as much for our body to break it down because it's
Yeah.
just in like its most basic form.
Yeah. What's an example of that? If I were to go on a hike and I had a simple carb, what
Like
would
to
happen?
eat.
Yeah.
You would use it. Like they're actually great for energy, but they're not going to give us all those other benefits of fiber and the long term.
The longer stretch.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Exactly. So they're both fine, but we're
Mhm.
going to try and aim more for those complex carbs.
Yes.
The whole grains, popcorn, wheat, fruits, vegetables. That's where we want to get our carbs
Popcorn.
from mostly. Popcorn is a great grain, actually.
Really?
It is an amazing snack.
Well, that is great news
Yeah.
because I love popcorn.
Popcorn is
Pop
fantastic.
it yourself,
Uh-huh.
not the stuff you get from the store, which is mostly laden with too many ingredients.
And there's a few kinds you can get from the store that are
Okay.
just like Smart Pop. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've seen that brand.
Okay.
It's just popped in oil and salt.
Yeah.
And it's great for you.
Okay.
But yeah, popcorn is a whole grain.
Oh, that's wonderful
So
news.
it has lots of fiber. It's a great snack. Throw some nuts in there.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a good balanced
Yeah.
situation.
So my next challenge at home is to make a bread that has multiple grains in it. That's a very hearty piece so that when I have my fish or my chicken or with my vegetables, I just have a big slice of the grains with it.
Yeah.
And I make sure I get it in every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your wife makes great bread. So
She
I'm
does
sure
make great
that you can
bread.
figure something out. Add some oats and some barley in there. Or
But my
some
wife
rye
is too nice and she ends up giving bread out to everybody she knows. And
So you
so
never
then I
get the
don't
bread.
have enough at the house. Yeah.
So that's our carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Carbohydrates typically should take up about 40 to 60% of what we eat every day.
Okay, so let me
Okay.
think about my plate that I usually make up. I would say my proteins are about fist size.
Perfect.
And then everything else on the plate has been a carb,
Okay.
even if it's like lettuce or mixed vegetables or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we want carbohydrates still, but I think they get a bad name because carbohydrates are so easy to overeat,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to grab one cookie and another cookie and another
Mhm.
cookie and another. And they're just so prevalent.
Right.
Like it's so easy to get carbohydrates. So I think people commonly overeat them,
Yeah.
but they're not bad in the right portions.
You brought up a good point, and I think this is another video that I'll be making probably this next week where I'll walk into Walmart, into the grocery section, and I'm going to point out specifically the carbs and show you the box and the labels, what's actually included into these ingredients, so that we remember not to consume those and look at an alternative that's healthier for our bodies, especially when we talk healthier for our brains.
Right. Exactly. So those are our carbs.
Yeah.
They're great for us. They're
Great.
great for our brains, just in the right amount.
Mm.
The next thing is proteins. Okay. Proteins are also so great for us. Proteins are going to be found in things like animal products.
Mhm.
So meat and dairy, they're going to be found in fish. They're going to be found in our legumes. So
Mhm.
beans,
Yep.
that type of thing.
Yep.
Okay. Proteins make up our muscles, right? They make
Mhm.
up components of our hair and our skin. And we obviously need
Yeah.
them. But if we have too much protein, it's just going to be stored as fat.
Oh.
So the key is to find the balance, right?
Gotcha. Get the balance in
Yes.
the proteins.
Yes.
Okay.
Protein, you can calculate how much protein you need every day. It's actually a pretty simple equation.
Okay.
So that's something that everyone could do. And then once you know your protein, you can kind of figure out your carbohydrates and fat from
You
there.
just fill in from there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So the easiest way to do it is to take your weight
Mm-hmm.
in pounds
Okay.
and you divide it by 2.2.
Okay.
That gives you kilograms.
All right.
And multiply that by 1. So you need about 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight.
Okay.
And that's about where you need.
Okay.
It's not, obviously.
That's not complex.
No, it's not too hard. If you're an athlete, if you're exercising a lot,
Yeah.
you can do more.
Yep.
If you're not exercising at all, you can probably go a little less.
Yep.
But about 1 per kilogram is where you want to be.
Now, is it true that proteins are, they help you feel more full when you consume proteins,
Yep,
right?
that's very true.
So it's important, like Lisa just mentioned, not to overeat, but to consume the right amount so that you still feel like you're getting full. Because if you just eat salads, I'm telling you, if that's your if that's your plan for nutrition, you will be hungry consistently all the
Yes,
time,
you'll
right?
be miserable. And
Yeah.
actually, you won't be giving your body what you
No,
need.
no, no,
Salad
exactly.
is so healthy, but it's not going to have that protein.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you really do need the protein.
Okay.
So, yes, protein takes longer for your body to digest.
Mm.
It's harder to break down
Okay.
than a carbohydrate.
All right.
So that's why it keeps you full for longer.
Okay.
Because it
I
just
didn't
stays
know
in your
that.
stomach longer.
Yeah. Good. Good
Yeah.
to know. Good to know.
Yeah. But again, you don't want to do too much.
Yeah.
Because then you're just going to store it.
Okay.
All right. The key is balance.
And I have stored it way too long.
Unfortunately, we probably all have a little bit, right? That's just how it is. So you can also get protein from supplements. Obviously, there's tons of protein supplements out there.
Yeah.
Which are fine, but don't let that be your main source of protein.
Right.
You want to get your protein from food mainly.
Yeah. For those of you who lift weights and are big into fitness, the temptation and the marketing that's out there for protein is to consume a lot of supplemental protein. So I started doing that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably not even using as much protein as I was consuming. So I was just getting rid of it out of my body, wasting my money.
Yeah.
I've demonstrated the protein on here, what I do after I work out, and I take 2 scoops of that, which is about 40 grams. And that's essentially what I do for my supplementation, additional to whatever I'm consuming with my regular foods for proteins.
Which is totally reasonable.
Okay.
Just don't let it be your
Right.
only source of protein.
Okay.
Make sure you're eating food too.
Because when we talk about like oatmeal, and oatmeal is my morning breakfast every morning, with some chia seeds, a little bit of brown sugar, some cinnamon,
Mm-hmm.
and I just do hot water in it,
Yeah.
and I just cook it that way. And the oatmeal has protein in
It
it.
does.
And it's not a lot, but it's enough to give you 8-9 grams of protein if it's a whole cup of oatmeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that plus your, post-workout protein shake.
Yep.
Plus some fish or chicken at dinner.
Yep.
And you're looking pretty good.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, the last building block of our food is fat.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
When you say the word fat,
I know,
like,
people don't like that word.
bells and whistles go off.
No,
Like,
but
why?
fat is actually so good for you.
Okay. All right.
It is good for you. Not all fats, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's different kinds of fats, okay?
Okay.
There's unsaturated fat and there's saturated fat.
Okay, so I've heard these, but I don't know what they do.
Okay. Unsaturated fats are the ones that we want to look for. Okay. They're going to be found, they're the fats that we can get from like vegetables. Okay. So they're going to be found in like our oils. They're actually going to be found in fish also, like fatty fish, salmon, tuna, mackerel, those types of things.
Okay.
And they're the ones that are going to fuel our brains.
So the fish has unsaturated fats.
Yes.
Naturally.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You might hear of, or you might have heard of omega-3s or omega-6s.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about here.
I used to do a supplementation until I realized that I didn't need to supplement. I just needed to consume it in my regular meals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and typically the recommendation is if you eat fish 2 times a week, you're going to get enough
omega-3
without a supplement.
Okay.
If you're not eating that much fish or you don't like fish, there's other options to get those omega-3s. You can look at like walnuts.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at ground flaxseed.
Mm-hmm.
That would have those omega-3s. If you're not eating any of those things, then that's where you might want to look for an omega-3 supplement.
How would I use flax seeds? Would I just top it on something?
Yeah, just like an oatmeal.
Oh, an oatmeal.
Like instead of chia seeds.
Instead of chia seeds.
Or you can mix it like into yogurt. Put it with some yogurt. Put a little bit of granola and some flaxseed.
Yeah.
And
it'll work.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just have to make sure it's ground. Our bodies don't break it down if it's whole.
So the flaxseed I have at home are tiny little seeds.
Your seeds. You want to grind them.
I want to grind them even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That way it gets the nutrients in our bodies.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So those are the good fats, okay? We want those. Olive oil has the good fats.
I've been adding more olive oil to everything.
Yep. Yeah. Avocado is going to have good fats.
Okay.
Even eggs are going to have good fats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The bad fats are the saturated and the trans fats.
Okay.
Okay. These are the ones that we're getting from like red meat, from eating a lot of dairy, and the trans fats are in those processed foods.
Okay.
Okay. Things like shortening.
Okay.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
Margarine.
Yeah. Other types of oils.
Most of the oils.
Vegetable oil is that?
That would be like a polyunsaturated fat.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not the healthiest oil, but it's also not
as bad
the
as
trans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The trans is what turns the liquid into a solid, like shortening. So shortening is solidified oil.
And if
Right.
it does that externally, imagine what it does internally.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not great for us. It's
No.
not great.
No.
So those are the kinds of fats that are
Okay.
going to like cause heart disease,
Okay.
which we want to avoid.
Okay.
Use those in moderation.
Perfect.
Which, you know,
Perfect.
along with the Mediterranean diet that we talked about
Yep.
last time, limiting red meats, that's exactly why.
Okay.
Because it's just not, those fats aren't going to benefit us like the unsaturated fats, the mono and polyunsaturated fats.
And I haven't had red meat since we discussed it. I know that my wife has a meal plan that occasionally I'll eat with her for the dinner.
Yeah.
And I'll just have the red meat with
That's
it.
perfect.
But otherwise, I'm sticking pretty tight to what I'm doing right now in the night, so that I can get my body back to where I need to be level, and then I can regulate a little bit more once I'm down more. So.
Yep. So yeah, and fats should make up about 20 to 30% of our diet. It kind of depends on, again, how much protein and how much carbs. The fats are kind of like the cherry on top.
Gotcha.
They're not going to be the main part of our diet. So yeah, those are our building blocks.
Okay.
Those are our macromolecules that make up all our food.
Okay.
And they're all totally important and necessary for a healthy diet.
All right, so the takeaway for today is going to be we have 3 different elements that we need to include in our meals. We've got our proteins, we've got our carbs, and we've got our fats. And if we make a plate or any one of the 3 main meals we would consume, we want to make sure that our protein is fist size.
Yep.
We want to make sure that we fill the nutritional carbs on around it. Yep. And then we want to have a portion of the fat. So maybe a sixth of the plate has some fat.
I would say like almost like the condiment or like the topping is the fat.
Gotcha.
Like a sprinkle of avocado on your salad.
Yeah.
Or like your drizzle of olive oil that you're talking about on your salad. That's going to be your fat.
That's going to be it.
Or, you know, sometimes if you're marinating meat, you're going to put it in an olive oil marinade.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the fat kind of comes, I feel like fats come more naturally because they kind of add the flavor, right?
Yeah,
and everyone wants a little bit of flavor. So as you're adding flavor, you're probably adding fats.
Okay, so that's also our warning too, is that it's too easy to overdo on fats because it makes everything taste better,
It does
right?
makes things taste really good.
Yeah. And overdoing carbs is easy too. So if we talk about bread and we talk about like healthy grains, I know bread is an easy one to overconsume as well. You just, I'm gonna rush. I'm gonna pop in something in a toaster or in the oven, and you just consume, and slap it with butter or something, and then it's probably overdosing what you need.
Right, but if you do say like a piece of toast with some peanut butter on it, and then you throw a banana in there, then you know you're definitely getting more balance.
So my habit for snacks lately has been cutting up an apple and then having a tablespoon of peanut butter, and I just dip it in the fruit into the peanut butter, and that's what I consume for my snack in between meals.
Which is perfect because the apple is going to have your carbohydrates.
Yeah.
But it's going to be those good carbohydrates that we talked about that are going to have the fiber. And your peanut butter is going to have protein and fat. So you're getting all 3 in one snack.
Okay.
Fantastic.
This is awesome. I hope all of you have taken some notes today, because it's important for you to really get your nutrition under wraps. I've been lifting weights for years, and I haven't been seeing the gains that I've had since I started doing the Mediterranean diet or meal plan, where I was consuming exactly what my body needed and my mind. And I can give you a little example. I go to a speech therapist each week, and that speech therapist really helps me to work on my TBI, to get my memory tracking a lot better. And my scores over the last 2 weeks have been through the roof. And I have to say, what else have I been doing that would add value to my mind, except that Leisa taught us specifically how to eat for our brain health. And I've been doing that, and I can tell you right now that my brain health has been better than it's been in years as a result of first changing the nutrition piece and cutting out all that processed stuff that I was coping with in the evenings, which made me feel yucky, and I don't feel yucky anymore.
Good, I'm so glad.
This is a success. There are going to be more conversations we have with Leisa in the future. She'll go into greater detail into other areas that I think will add greater value to your meal planning, to your nutrition overall. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, like, and also please comment in below what you do to get your proteins, carbs, and fats in as well. We'd be curious to hear and read some of those comments too, and we'll respond to them as soon as we see them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Leisa, again, thanks for coming. A registered dietitian. We're so lucky to have her on this channel with us. and we'll have more to come in the future, guys. So love you. Take care of your bodies. Take care of your mind.